One of the best parts of shonen anime has to be the fights. They are dynamic, over the top, and often have a great emotional payoff when done correctly. This was definitely one of the biggest factors in getting me interested in anime growing up. So today, we are going to be covering my personal 10 favorite anime fights. Remember, this is just my opinion, and you are totally able to disagree. But if there are moments you liked more, be sure to let me know in the comments below. Of course, there might be some spoilers in here, so be warned. And hey, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, and if you're new to Mystic Sage, be sure to subscribe for new content. I'll be trying to keep it to one fight per series. With all that out of the way, let's start things off at number 10. Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood is pretty widely known as a very near perfect show, and for good reason. It has a great storyline, tons of emotional payoff, and some really fantastic characters. Even the fight scenes are pretty excellent. Ones that really stand out to me being Mustang vs Envy, Father vs Ed, and Scar vs Wrath. But above all, the fights in this series, there's one that really stood out to me. Alphonse vs Kimbley in Pride. Alphonse is usually a pretty passive guy, and he always avoids conflict when he can. But in this fight, he's pushed into a situation where not only does he have to fight, but he has to take on one of the most dangerous alchemists and one of the strongest homunculus at once. While the odds aren't exactly in his favor, he does have one thing on his side: a Philosopher's Stone. The issue being that Al had just found out that the stones were made by sacrificing thousands of humans. So Al has to overcome this mortal hurdle, and he comes to an agreement with the souls in the stone to use them for the greater good. So we get into the actual fight, and it is so fast paced. Being able to use unlimited transmutations allows Al to do some really phenomenal things. For example, there's a scene where Pride slices off Al's arms and throws it back at him, but in the time it took Pride to do that, Al reforms his arm, catches his old arm, and turns it into his sword to fight back. Every motion in this fight is fluid, and it comes together really well. But even more importantly, we finally see Al take charge and show some backbone that he had been largely missing in the series. If you've been on the channel for a while, you know I love Demon Slayer. And just like with Brotherhood, there's a ton of fights that could have made it. Zenitsu versus the Brother Spider, Shinobu versus the Sister Spider, or Tanjiro versus Kyokai. But I think we can all agree that the best fight in this series so far has to be Tanjiro versus Rui. Our heroes are on the Spider Demon's mountain, and everyone is being pushed to their absolute limit. Zenitsu is just about dead, Inosuke is barely holding on, and Tanjiro finally comes across Lower Moon 5, Rui. The fight starts, and immediately we see how outclassed Tanjiro is, even breaking his sword only moments into the fight. He doesn't give up though, and pushes on with his broken blade, and he is desperately trying to land his sword on the demon's neck, but he can't seem to connect. Then Rui taunts him and allows him to get a free shot in, and Tanjiro winds up for a slice, only for his sword to be stopped on the demon's skin. What's more important in this fight though, is the themes of family, as Rui is making a fake family through fear, while Tanjiro and Nezuko on the other hand are working together. The fight finally comes to a close when Tanjiro awakens his Dance to the Fire God, but even with this new style, Tanjiro is struggling to catch up to the demon. When he finally lands a shot, he still can't break through his skin on Rui's neck. But Nezuko awakens her demon blood art, and the explosive blood powers up Tanjiro's blade, turning it red and allowing her brother to finally cut off Rui's head. On top of all this, I feel like I'd be doing a disservice if I didn't mention how beautiful the fight looked and sounded. The music is gorgeous, and the animation is honestly some of the best this year had to offer. And all of this comes together to make a really great fight. When it comes to Hunter x Hunter, it came down to either Netaro versus Morium, Hisoka versus Gon, or Gon versus Pitou. And to me at least, I have to give it to Gon versus Pitou. Pitou had killed Kite, who is not only Gon's mentor, but also his link to his father. There's so much that I love about this fight, but to me the best parts and the change we see in Gon, we get to watch this super cheerful and happy kid fall into depression and hopelessness, then basically offer up his life at a chance for revenge. The swirl of darkness covers him, and he forces his body to age. Then we see Pitou being genuinely afraid, saying he is just as strong as Morium. And while that seemed pretty impossible at the time, we definitely see this power growth. Gon goes fully berserk and beats Pitou to death in one of the most brutal and memorable scenes in the series. Come on. We all know Dragon Ball had to be on this list, and to me the best fight in the series is easily Gohan versus Cell. Gohan had the same feeling of being a kind-hearted kid who avoids conflict, just like Alphonse had at number 10. There's a difference here though. With Alphonse, we had a character standing up to evil. However, with Gohan, we see Cell literally doing everything in his power to break Gohan and make him snap. Even rewatching this scene, I still get chills when Gohan tells Cell he doesn't want to keep pushing. Then we see Cell crush 16's head and Gohan erupts. And then that Bruce Falconer track plays and it just gets really epic. If you can't tell, I really love these scenes where quiet and shy characters let loose and savagely beat people down. The change in personality is always so interesting to me, but especially with characters like Gohan and Gon, where the darker and more aggressive sides of them have been hinted at throughout the series. The fight comes to an end with Gohan being pushed to exhaustion, even as Super Saiyan 2. Cell returns stronger than ever after killing Goku, and we get this insane Kamehameha struggle. It looks like Gohan is going to be wiped out when Goku comes down from the other world for what is the most iconic moment in Gohan's history, the father-son Kamehameha. And even years later, this scene just gets me. And for anyone who says the Frieza fight was better, you're insane. I love Frieza, but it has like 3 good scenes and like 500 episodes. Cell is better, but we all know that Vegeta is the best character, and without Vegeta, Gohan probably would have never been able to do the father-son Kamehameha, and Cell would still probably be rampaging. That blast that Vegeta did, yeah, that pretty much let Gohan do that. Listen, I know Aizen is a badass. I know he had his master plan, and it was awesome, but at the end of the day, he planned for his own failure and was killed in one swing because he added Ichigo into his plan for no reason. You know who was an absolute idiot though? Ulquiorra. The Edgelord himself battled Ichigo and what is easily my favorite fight in the series. Ulquiorra's whole theme was fear and despair, and his fighting style involves pushing as much of those emotions on Ichigo as possible. The fight starts with Ichigo getting absolutely devastated, but he is at least able to keep up with how Ulquiorra is moving now. He puts on his hollow mask and they are almost on even footing. However, Ulquiorra drags Ichigo outside of Las Noches. He does so because he isn't allowed to transform while inside Las Noches, and when he does, it is devastating. And then he goes into his resurrection mode, which is even better. Ichigo literally dies. How many protagonists other than Goku die in a battle, let alone to a non-final boss? That being said, after Ichigo dies, Orihime is attacked, and Ichigo is resurrected in full hollow mode. He begins moving so fast that Ulquiorra can't even see him. He's full of instant transmissioning around the field, tearing off arms, and launching shadows that are stronger than any of the Getsugas he's ever used. However, he loses control and starts attacking his friends. There's so much weight in this battle, and seeing these massive shifts in momentum just made this my favorite battle in the series. The original Naruto series was excellent. There are so many hype moments, but literally no one in the world would argue that this isn't the best one. Rock Lee versus Gaara, a kid with no ninjutsu or genjutsu, with almost no natural talent, against a monster with infinite potential and a literal demon inside of him, Shikaku. Gaara has this insane ninjutsu with a seemingly magical sand that has devastating attacks and a quote perfect defense. There is nothing this dude can't do. Meanwhile, Lee can only kick and punch. But we all know what happens next. Lee backflips to the highest point in the arena and drops his leg weights. Everyone watching this scene is kind of giggling as they see this old school training style. Then the weights hit the ground and this massive smoke cloud booms up as the arena shakes. This man was basically wearing elephants on his leg and was still the fastest Genin in the whole exam. From this point on, he is basically blinking around the arena and Gaara's sand can't keep up. He finally lands a hit and Gaara bleeds for the first time in his life, leading him to go berserk. We get to see Lee completely dominate Gaara for a while, until Gaara desperately goes for an attack that crushes Lee's arm and leg so he can't fight. There is a whole theme of talent versus hard work in this series, and despite the hard worker Lee losing here, I think this fight does an amazing job of displaying this theme, and that topped on an already amazing fight, making it an easy number 5. On to Mob Psycho 100. While Season 2 definitely had some phenomenal fights, my favorite battle in the whole series has to be Reigen's fight. Reigen is this super interesting character. While Mob is all powerful, Reigen has no powers. Despite this, Mob thinks that Reigen is incredibly talented, and viewers are kind of just waiting for the moment that Reigen's story falls apart. Then, at the end of Season 1, Mob comes against his strongest opponent yet, but he is freezing up. He can't muster up the courage or emotions needed to win this fight. However, he subconsciously passes psychic powers on to Reigen, and this leads to the most hilarious and interesting moment of the season. All of Reigen's fake bravado just immediately becomes real power, and all of his confidence basically makes him a living god for a few minutes. So not only does this fight make Reigen into a massive badass, but it also reassures Mob as to how amazing Reigen is, since he doesn't know how Reigen is just using his own power. And honestly, if it's a scene that makes Reigen look good, it's great with me. One Piece has a ton of fights, with some of the most iconic being with Luffy battling against Katakuri, Doflamingo, or Crocodile. However, my personal favorite is Luffy versus Usopp. There's so many amazing factors going on with this fight. Luffy and Usopp fighting about the Mary, and Usopp eventually being led to leave the crew. They have one final battle with each other to settle all of the issues between them, and this fight is sweet. We see Usopp really stand his own for the first time in this series. Like, he isn't just getting by, he actually wins a fight against Luffy. And he does this by using strategy, planning, and trickery. All the tactics he is known for. Usopp is known to be the weakest on the crew, but we know he can do great things when he puts effort in. And this is the biggest show of what he can do in this series. Kings and queens are as plentiful of grains of sand, but there is only one Escanor. The best character and the 7 deadly sins definitely gets the number 2 slot for this video for the battle against Estarossa. The fight starts after the death of Meliodas, as Estarossa is holding down all the holy knights and a few sins with his commandment. His power makes it so that anyone who hates him will lose strength and be unable to fight. So since he just killed Meliodas, people begin hating him, and he had a massive upper hand. Then Escanor walks up. He's unaffected by the commandment, and when asked why, despite having one of his best friends just murdered in front of him, he says, "Why would I hate you? You're so far beneath me, so I merely pity you." The fight starts and Escanor is destroying Estarossa. He knocks him to the ground and says, "Why are you down there? Did you drop something?" Then the demon uses his counter, launching Escanor's attack back at him, to which Escanor says, and I quote, "Oh, no wonder I actually felt that. I do pack quite a punch after all." The entire fight is as Escanor playing around with the strongest demon we've ever seen to this point. Eventually, Estarossa envelops Escanor's attacks in darkness and says that the sin will lose. But Escanor's light shines through and says that he decides who wins or loses. The whole fight is just big dick energy, and I absolutely love it. Finally, my favorite fight in anime has to be Kakashi versus Obito. The fight has a ton of emotions as these two ex-best friends begin their death match. As the fight goes on, we get glimpses of them as kids, mirroring the save motions, and it comes together to make such a powerful scene. The animation is top tier and fluid, the music is great, even for Naruto, and it just has everything that you could want in a fight. There unfortunately isn't a lot to say about this fight, but I think it goes under the radar a lot because when people think of Shippuden fights, they tend to jump to Madara versus the Kage, or the Alliance, or Naruto versus Sasuke, or Sasuke versus Itachi. But when you bring this fight up, everyone always smiles and they all agree they love this battle. It just has a warm place in people's hearts, but I think it gets overshadowed by some of the more hyped up or exciting moments. Anyways, if you enjoyed, remember to leave a like, subscribe, and let me know your favorite fights in the comments below. Until next time though, I've been Mystic Sage, and I'm off to watch more anime.